If Adam's true sin wasn't eating the forbidden fruit, but merging with a forbidden bloodline, what then? And what if those who rule the world today come from a lineage different from the rest of humanity, the bloodline of Lilith? Tonight, we're diving into a story hidden between the lines of ancient texts, a story pushed outside the official history told by religions. Lilith, Adam, Jinn, giants, the flood, and a dark bloodline said to have survived all the way to the present day. If you're ready, let's begin. To uncover the truths hidden in the dark, welcome to the discovery of mystery. In this video, we will embark on a journey that will make you question many things you thought you already knew. Adam and Eve, the expulsion from paradise, the forbidden tree. There is a darker version of this story that exists outside the official narratives we have heard since childhood. In this version, Adam does not have just one partner. One is human, and the other is a completely different kind of being, what we call a Jinn. And at the very center of this lies a single figure known by different names across different cultures, Lilith. In this narrative, Lilith appears sometimes as Adam's first wife, sometimes as the queen of the Jinn, and sometimes as a demon who steals seed. We will bring together pieces ranging from mythology to the Torah, from verses in the Quran to apocryphal texts, from legends to modern conspiracy theories, and pursue one question: who was Lilith, and could this dark lineage truly still be among us today? Everything you're about to hear should be seen as a speculative exploration of symbols, myths, and fringe interpretations, not as established religious doctrine or historical fact. When people hear the name Lilith, most immediately think of Jewish mysticism, but this figure appears under different names in almost every culture. In Turkey, the female jinn known as Al-Karasa, Albasta, or Albasan, who is said to haunt postpartum women and newborn babies, seems like a local reflection of Lilith. She is said to suffocate new mothers at night, dry up their milk, kill the baby, and for this reason, families avoid hanging laundry for a certain time and use protective charms. In Sumer and Babylon, we see goddesses like Inanna and Ishtar, Akkadian and Babylonian variations intertwined with sexuality and war, representing both fertility and destruction. In the Greek and Roman world, Aphrodite or Venus appears as the goddess of love and allure, yet also as a force that seduces and clouds the mind. In the Islamic world, the star Zuhra is described as the same celestial sign as Venus in the West, and around it revolves a story of a woman who seduces and leads an angel astray. Names change, myths change, but the archetype remains: a feminine entity who steals a man's seed, threatens children, and tests humanity through sexuality. This is why Lilith is not merely a mythological character, but a figure translated into every language of humanity's collective memory. The most controversial part is the claim that Adam had a marital past not limited to Eve alone. Some ancient interpretations propose that Adam had one wife from humankind and another from the lineage of Jinn. And here arises the critical question: why were Adam and his spouse expelled from paradise? The classic answer is clear: they ate the forbidden fruit and were cast out. At this precise point, however, another claim emerges. In this version, it is said that they were expelled because an act of adultery was committed. But in both the Torah and the Quran, Adam and his wife are commanded to be fruitful and multiply, meaning the union of the spouses is not considered sinful. It is actually a natural part of creation. If that is the case, then the reason for their expulsion cannot be the spouses being together. It must be a completely different kind of prohibition. The Qur'anic phrase, "do not approach this tree," can be interpreted not only as a physical tree, but also as lineage, ancestry, and genealogy. The words for tree and genealogy in Arabic come from the same root, pointing to a family, a bloodline, a descent. Viewed through this lens, the verse can be interpreted as, do not approach this lineage, do not form a union with them, meaning what was forbidden to Adam was not his union with his own spouse, but forming a relationship with a foreign, other species, the Jinn. And this is exactly where Lilith enters the story. She represents the forbidden union, the bridge between human and Jinn lineage, the female figure who breaks the rule. In the Quran, the position of Iblis also stands in a way that supports this picture. On one hand, he receives the command to prostrate along with the angels, yet on the other, the phrase, he was one of the Jinn, indicates that he was a different kind of being. This suggests that the term angel is not a biological species, but more of a rank, a status, a function. In verse 50 of Surah Al-Kahf, there is a striking statement, will you take him and his offspring as allies instead of me? This sentence implies that Iblis left behind a lineage, that the seed of Iblis continues to exist in the world. In darker versions of the narrative, it is said that humanity began with two main lines, the pure human lineage that continued through Seth, and the lineage of Cain, mixed with Jinn and carrying monstrous traits through Lilith. This idea appears not only in modern conspiracy theories, but also in very ancient texts. In the Nag Hammadi writings discovered in the 1940s, particularly the manuscript titled The Reality of the Rulers, Cain is described as belonging to a demonic or fallen angel lineage, while Abel represents the human line. Some early Christian writers even referred to Cain as the son of Satan. Here the word Satan does not point to a single Iblis, but rather to a particular faction within the Jinn. Thus a picture emerges between Adam's two sons that hints at a difference in species at the very root of their being. This is why some argue that texts like the Book of Enoch were declared apocryphal, forbidden by Jewish religious authorities, because such texts deal a heavy blow to the narrative that we all come from the same root and we are all equal. In Jewish mystical tradition, the relationship between Lilith and Adam is portrayed even more dramatically. It is said that Lilith and Adam were created from the same soil. When they came together, Lilith wanted to be on top, while Adam rejected this, saying, I am superior to you. You will lie beneath me. This ignited the conflict. Lilith rebelled, left Adam, and fled. God sent angels to call her back and warned her that she would be punished if she refused. When Lilith refused to return, the punishment was the death of her children. In response, Lilith swore, then I will kill the newborn children of the sons of Adam within their first 40 days. And thus emerged the image of the female demon who enters men's dreams to steal their seed, bears children from them, targets newborn infants, torments and suffocates postpartum women, and becomes a killer of children. When placed next to Turkish beliefs about Al-Bastu and Al-Karasa, the similarities are striking. Rituals such as not leaving postpartum women alone, avoiding hanging laundry for a certain period, and using protective charms seem like localized reflections of Lilith's shadow in Turkey. In the older sections of the Torah, during the period before the flood, there is mention of beings called the Nephilim. The sentence, the sons of God saw the daughters of men, found them beautiful, and took them as wives, refers to that hybrid lineage. As these giants multiplied, oppression increased, the world became unlivable, and the earth was cleansed with the flood. In the apocryphal Book of Enoch, even the birth of Noah is described as controversial. Lamech, Noah's father, becomes suspicious because the child's appearance is unusual. His eyes shine like those of the angels, and he does not look human. This is not my son. He resembles the beings of the heavens, he says, seeking counsel from his father Enoch. Enoch reassures him, this is your son. Your lineage will continue through him. Those who take this narrative seriously raise the possibility that even Noah's bloodline may contain a celestial mixture. Even after the flood, we still see references to giants and their tribes. In ancient texts, we find mentions of giants like Og, tribes descended from Enoch, and in some accounts, beings with 6 fingers on each hand, 12 fingers in total. In Islamic tradition, there is also the figure known as Uj, son of Enoch, whom some researchers connect etymologically to the Anunnaki line. Here another interesting detail comes into play. Throughout history, humanity has used 2 primary numerical systems, the decimal and the duodecimal. The decimal system matches our 10 fingers, but the duodecimal system makes perfect sense for a species with 12 fingers. The line stretching from Sumer and Babylon to Turkey's Göbekli Tepe carries this picture to an entirely different level. The feminine figure seen in the lineage of Inanna, Ishtar, Zura, and Lilith stands not only in myth, but at the very center of worship. In Sumerian and Babylonian rituals, sexual rites were central to the veneration of these goddesses. Sacred prostitution was directly tied to ritualized sexual acts within the temple. Some modern researchers claim to see traces of these cults in Göbekli Tepe as well. According to stories told by old families in the region and by field workers, the Göbekli Tepe site was used as a kind of mating center. Certain stone carvings depict women giving birth. Even in nearby villages long after the site was buried under earth, women would tie cloth to a particular tree in the area to pray for children, an astonishing continuity of cultural memory. It is as if the memory of a place used for fertility and mating rituals 10,000 years ago continued to live on in the rituals of the people, even after the site was sealed. Göbekli Tepe's fate is just as mysterious as the site itself. It does not look like a settlement slowly filled in and forgotten by natural processes. Rather, it appears deliberately buried and sealed with stone and rubble. Georadar scans show that there are still lower layers untouched by excavation, and these layers point to dates even older than 10,000 BCE. Some global figures who insist that excavations should be limited to protect cultural heritage raise a provocative question. What exactly is being kept hidden here? Rituals centered on sexuality, offerings focused on birth and fertility, women praying for children at the same spot for generations. When viewed through the lens of Lilith, one begins to see a chain of ancient dark fertility goddesses stretching through Ishtar and Inanna. There is also the story of Harut and Marut. In Islamic tradition, the story of Harut and Marut is another reflection of the Lilith-Zura line. According to the legend, the angels once said, "We are more obedient than the sons of Adam." God then told them to choose 2 angels among themselves to be sent to earth for a test. They chose Harut and Marut, who descended to earth. Zura appeared before them in the form of an extraordinarily beautiful woman. First, she told them she would only be with them if they associated partners with God, something the angels refused. Then she demanded that they kill a child. They refused again. Finally, she offered them wine and said, "Drink, and I will do as you wish." The angels drank, became drunk, and in their drunkenness committed everything they had refused. They fornicated, murdered the child, and committed shirk. When asked afterward whether they preferred earthly punishment or punishment in the hereafter, they chose earthly punishment. Sources that recount this story link Zura once again to the line of Ishtar, Venus, and Lilith. Thus, the idea grows stronger that angels are not mindless robots, but beings who can be tested, who can fail, and who can be seduced. And from here, we return to the same conclusion. Angel is a status, human and jinn are species. In Jewish literature, we sometimes see harsh distinctions such as goyim are not human. Of course, this reflects certain historical texts and extreme viewpoints, not what all Jews believe or how most Jewish communities see the rest of humanity today. This idea often stems from the belief that we descend from Eve while you come from another mother. According to some interpretations, the figure they call Eve is actually aligned with the lineage of Lilith. If so, part of humanity would trace its roots to one maternal line, while the rest would descend from another. Interpretations that imply lineage passing through the mother can even be found in the Quran. In Surah Al-Kawthar, it says, "We have given you Kawthar," followed by, "The one who calls you cut off is the one who is truly cut off." Although the prophet's sons had died, his lineage continued through his daughter Fatima. This reading suggests that continuity of lineage is understood through the daughter. And when read together with the Lilith narrative, a darker question emerges. If the world truly has two main bloodlines, one human, one mixed with Jinn, then could today's elites, those who control finance and media and proclaim themselves masters of the universe, be the descendants of this forbidden lineage? There is no way to prove such claims. And in this video, we are treating them as part of the mythology and conspiracy lore built around these ancient stories, not as verified reality. Even in modern culture, we see the same motifs repeated. Superhero films are filled with characters who differ from ordinary humans, carrying semi-divine or mutant traits. Their costumes often feature red and blue. The symbolism of red blood and blue blood reinforces the imagery of half god, half human. Conspiracy theories speak of reptilians, beings who appear human but are actually of another species, often linked to royal families in ancient bloodlines. All of these retell, in different languages, the same theme that stretches from Lilith to the Nephilim and into the present, the mixing of blood and the war of lineages. So where is all of this going? Across Islamic, Christian, and Jewish eschatology, we find a shared motif: a great age of corruption on earth, vast wars, the catastrophic conflict known as Armageddon or Al-Malhama Al-Kubra, and the idea that the children of Israel will spread great corruption on earth twice, both ending in their own downfall. After this, a period of prosperity is said to come, an age in which the righteous rule the world and justice is restored. Everyone interprets this period through their own lens. Muslims say, this is the global reign of Islam. Jews say, the age of the Messiah and Jewish dominion. Christians say, the kingdom of Jesus Christ. Even Satanist groups invent their own versions. But the common point shared across texts is this: the earth will ultimately be inherited by the righteous. Justice will prevail for a time, and then people will once again fall into corruption, oppression, and deviation. In some interpretations, the cosmic finale of this cycle is linked to the sun and earth being drawn toward a massive gravitational center in the galaxy, a black hole. Some believe the Qur'anic scene in the story of Dhul Qarnayn, where he sees the sun setting in a muddy spring, is a symbolic reference to such a cosmic end. In the Quran's account of Noah, the phrase, "We carried your descendants in a laden ship," may hint not only at fleeing a flood, but at being carried through time into another age, another cycle. If Noah's Ark was not merely an escape from a deluge, but a kind of time vessel, then the forbidden bloodline that began with Lilith may have survived not only the flood, but time itself, reaching all the way into the modern age. None of this is presented as certain truth in mainstream religious doctrine, but the repetition of the same motifs across Sumerian tablets, Jewish apocrypha, Islamic traditions, Turkish folklore, modern cinema, and pop culture makes us wonder. Maybe Lilith is not just a myth. Maybe she is a shared narrative language humanity created to express its own dark side, its forbidden desires, its obsession with lineage, and its strange relationship with visitors from the sky. So what do you think? Could Lilith really have been Adam's first wife? Was a hybrid bloodline between humans and jinn created at the dawn of human history? Are the elites who claim to rule the world today the descendants of this forbidden lineage? Please share in the comments the intriguing details you've come across and your own thoughts. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoy this type of content, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. See you again in the next mystery.